Start. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadrisham Tattvamasyaadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Yontaf pravishya mama vacham. Repeat. Yontaf pravishya mama vacham. Imam prasuptam. Sanjeevayatyakila. Shaktidharasvadhamna. Anyan swahastacharana. Shravanatvagadin Pranan Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam Dikkaladyanavachinna Anantachinmatramurtaye Swanubhutyekamanaya Namashantaya Tejase Sarvastaratu Durgani Sarvo Bhadrani Pashyatu Sarvasukhamavapnotu Sarvasarvatra Nandatu. So we begin with this prayer. Yontaf pravishya mama vacham. Imam prasuptan sanjeevayati. This body, this speech cannot do anything unless it's enlivened by the presence of Ishvara, blessed by Ishvara. As though something enters this body, antaf pravishya. What does it enter? My speech. If it didn't enter, I wouldn't speak. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim. All of us are muka. Muka means dumb, can't speak. Unless we are blessed by the grace to be able to speak. So, Bhagavan has as though entered my speech, my eyes, my ears, my skin, my whole body. Everything is made, rendered functional by this presence. Sanjeevayati. And how do they do so? With no sweat. Swadhamna. Just by his presence makes things happen. So just the presence of Ishvara, because all that is there is Ishvara. That presence, in a way, based on my karma, blesses this body. So we begin with this prayer to say, the one who, blesses us. Not just the sense organs, hasta charana shravanatvagadim, all my organs of action, my hands, my feet, every organ, my breathing is all blessed by whom? To that Lord I pay my obeisance. I say Namaha. Means you bring out the devotee in you. Unless the devotee comes out, there is no Ishvara. See, Ishvara is all that is there. We discussed this earlier. How do you recognize Ishvara though? When do you recognize Ishvara? If you recognize Ishvara only when you see an altar, it means we have reduced Ishvara to that altar. If I see Vishnu, then I recognize. If I see Ganesha, I recognize. If there is no temple, I don't recognize. And when do you become a devotee? When do you become a father? When you see a son. When do you become a brother? When you see a sibling. When do you become an employee? When you see the boss. So, when do you become a devotee? Only when you recognize the presence of Ishvara. Correct? Now, if you look at it this way, the one who makes this body enlivened, even if you keep this much in view, you can't miss Ishvara's presence. You are ever connected. You see the grace of Ishvara all the time. If I'm opening my mouth, there is Ishvara. If I'm breathing, there is Ishvara. How do I see it? You can't see it. Why you can't see it? Because it is not one more object. What is Ishvara? It is that one single cause which is both maker and material. How are you going to objectify that which is not a single thing? Like I told you, you can objectify a pot. You can objectify a lamp. In this case, you can objectify clay too. But your vision is normally to the name and form. Correct? But you cannot really, even if you objectify it as clay, while pot is clay, clay is not just a pot. Clay is much more than a pot. Why? Because there's a lamp, there's a kullad, there's a teacup, right? There are so many forms of clay. If you know one, you don't know all. If you know one form, you don't know all forms. But if you know one clay, you do recognize all forms of clay as clay. In the same way, we have to recognize Ishvara not in one altar, not in one body, but Ishvara is whatever knowledge is there is Ishvara, which means any time there's a piece of knowledge, both in the subject and the object, what is that one presence only. If we can bring, and we further saw what? Ishvara is the order, which means everything, any law you see in the universe, physical law, biological law, psychological law, and further we saw what? The law of karma. In all these, what should it bring to me? Any law reveals Ishvara. Any knowledge reveals Ishvara. Therefore, when will you be away from Ishvara? If every knowledge means every perception, every thought is a revealer of Ishvara. Just like every object staying where it is a revealer of gravity. You don't see gravity separately. The fact that you can lift your foot, put it down, and it stays there, you don't float, reveals gravity. Do you need something more to reveal gravity? You look for gravity because you don't know what gravity means. If I ask you where is gravity, if you look around, it means you don't understand what gravity means. Similarly, if we ask the question, Swami, but how to see Ishvara? You haven't understood Ishvara. The difficulty of not seeing Ishvara is not because Ishvara is not there, but because I am not tuned, I am not aligned, my understanding is not there as to what Ishvara means. To see color, I need my eyes. Nothing else will work. To see Ishvara, your eyes cannot reveal, your ears cannot reveal, then what will? This understanding. For Ishvara, the pramana is only Shastra. Veda alone is the pramana. So that is why this prayer in the beginning, to make us alive to it. So just thought I'll explain the first prayer at least so you know what it means to us. Okay? So we saw that a human being is characterized by awareness, self-awareness, which means capacity to be self-judging, and free will, two things. And the freedom is in what forms? Freedom to think, freedom to desire, freedom to do. These are three freedoms we have. All right? And the freedom to desire and freedom to do are driven by what? By your knowledge. Therefore, your knowledge determines what you can desire. Your knowledge determines what you will do. Know-how. Correct? So, with what do you know anything? With what do we know anything? With the mind. Is there any other place we know anything? Whether you know a thing outside or you know something inside as an expression, etc., where do you know it from? You only know it with your mind. Every knowledge takes place in the mind, right? Mind means here I mean the entire antahkarana. Therefore, this knowledge drives everything. So what do you need? You need to be rightly informed. You need proper understanding for proper action and proper desires. What do I mean by proper desires? Desires that will help me grow. What would they be? They would be those which are in keeping with dharma. A desire which is in keeping with dharma will take me in the right way. It's any number of ambitions is fine. Being ambitious is not a problem. Doing work to fulfill those ambitions is not a problem. What I need to be able to do is that the end is within dharma, the means are also within dharma. And whatever I do, the output, the consequence of my actions is not entirely determined by me. That is Ishvara's karma phala data. And therefore, I have no say, or very little say, except my own effort to determine what the output will be, outcome will be. That I need to understand and respect the law. The law is karma phala comes from Ishvara, and it can be less than, equal to, more than, or even opposite of what I expect. This much I have to be able to understand. And I cannot change a fact. I cannot change any fact. Facts have to be accepted, and if I resist a fact, it doesn't change a fact. What can change a fact in future is something I do to bring about a change. That freedom I have, but I cannot change a fact at this moment which is already there. What is, and what is Ishvara. Right? And we saw that first step for a human being is not to be mechanical. Mechanical means what? My free will is not really being exercised. I mechanically do things, which is called basically without thinking, I am doing things. If you free yourself from mechanicalness, then only the free will has some expression. Otherwise, it's just there for namesake. And if the mechanicalness is removed, then what's the next hurdle? The next hurdle is my likes and dislikes are so strong that they overwhelm me. I don't do what I think is right. I just get carried away by my likes and dislikes. And that is to be managed. That's a big step that we have to manage. And we need to understand one thing. Human being, two things I said. Free will. What does free will mean? There is an initiative involved. Purushaihi, sarvaihi purushaihi arthyateti purushartha. By all human beings we strive. For what? Artha, kama, etc. But that striving is necessary. Without striving, nothing can happen. So it is not a matter of saying, this body is born because of karma, everything is written here, it's all going to happen by karma. This is a fatalistic view. That is not the view we ever subscribe to. Because to gain punya and papa, you must have had free will to start with. All right? So free will, past free will is punya papa which you have, and present free will is also there, like two vectors. And both vectors will determine what the resultant will be. So we should be clear. If you don't use free will, nothing changes. In fact, if you say, I won't use my will, that's a dream, because you're using your will to not do anything. It's impossible to not do anything when I still have this notion that I'm lacking. I said that yesterday, that knowledge, when will I do anything, or when will I desire something, especially when will I do something? Because I feel I need to change something, typically. And if it's a need, a compulsive need to bring about a change, then my knowledge of myself is I am not fulfilled without that change. And until that feeling that I am not fulfilled persists, until then I cannot drop action. Action is necessary because I cannot accept myself as I am. If I don't act, it's purely out of my misconception that not acting, being lazy will be okay. That is a typical leisure that we look for. Not do anything and I'll be okay. Not true. For some time you may be okay, but work alone will bring about a change if you want to. And we saw that so far as I bring Ishvara into my mind, prayer is a very powerful karma, and through which I relate with Ishvara. And relating with Ishvara, I can ask for something, I need not ask for something. I can just say, remove the obstacles from whatever I have to do in life. Help me acknowledge you, help me understand you. What you pray for is up to you. But the recognition of Ishvara makes me a devotee. So if I recognize Ishvara as always present, I am connected to, then I am always a devotee. And being a devotee will make all the difference, because only when the devotee me is available, role play becomes a reality. Otherwise, I am the role. I don't have any identity apart from the role. If I want to enjoy an identity apart from the role, what is that identity? The starting identity is I am a devotee. Why? Because the individual has no being not being connected to the total. This body I didn't create, this mind I didn't create, the world I didn't create. I know there is Ishvara, and I am intimately connected with this like the wave to the ocean. Right? So we saw all this. Now, if you don't use your will, aging will happen, but there is no internal growth. No growth as a human being. That growth requires an initiative. And that initiative, how will you grow? You have only two means. Either you know or you do. Karma and jnanam are the only two things we have choices about. Choice in terms of saying, I can choose to know something, I can choose to do something. These are my abilities. Other than that, everything else is given. The senses are given, the mind is given, the world is given. You have nothing else to do. These are the only two things a human being can do something with. Now, if I want to do anything, first is knowledge. Initially, knowledge is purely to apply things. You always have applied, knowledge, applied sciences, technology. So you know something, it's not useful until you use it. That's how we normally live our life. If you ask anybody, Swamiji, what should I do? Even you come to a Gurukulam, what do you want to know? Swamiji, what should I do? We always want to do something. Why? Because the only thing we know is doing, which will take care of most of our life. Now, this doing is governed by what I know. So what I know must be objective. I have a lot of subjectivity. So this mind, as I told you, is what knows. And the mind is not objective. Mind is not objective, I'm saying, but technically I am not objective because I'm identified with the mind. So if I am not objective, then whatever choice I make will be incorrect. Therefore, to make the mind objective means to know more and more about the mind. To know the fact that anything, any outcome, anything I take up, the outcome can be fourfold. What you want, equal to it, less than it, more than it, opposite. So even entering anything, I should know there are four possibilities and I'm willing to accept all four outcomes. That makes me objective. So if it goes wrong, I'm not surprised. I already factored in the thinking that it could be like that. If you go in with that notion, you find you're already prepared to handle outcomes because you're not saying it won't come. So if you toss a coin, you have only two possible outcomes, either heads or tails. So you can't say it should always be heads. 50% possibility, probability. It's either this way or that way. So when you toss it, you know what will come. If you say, no, I will win, I'm saying heads, I will win. No guarantees. We should go in with that attitude. We have a capacity to accept the unpleasant outcome. Very important. How do you get it? When an unpleasant outcome is there, you stay with it. Don't try to run away from it. See it on its face. It's unpleasant to the mind, but it's a fact. I have to learn to accept. I have to also accept the fact that the mind is by nature restless. This is another thing. Some of your mind is restless, what to do? Mind should be restless. Restless means what? It should be moving. Not restless, it should be moving. If it doesn't move, our thought will be stuck. But difficulty is, I want the mind to be somewhere, it moves away elsewhere. That we need to address. That part we need to address. So I have to learn the fact that until I blame the world, until I blame situations for my problem, my thinking will invariably be that the situations have to change for me to be okay. Because I'm blaming the situation outside. This person mocks me. Therefore, the problem is him. I am not the problem. I am innocent. The person who mocks me is the problem. The person who pulls my leg is the problem. How will you change that? Now, the only solution you can think of is that person should stop troubling you. But what's the reality? You first understand. The person mocks. He mocks probably 5 others. But they are all okay. Why only I cry every time? Which means there is an element here which is unable to handle it. And therefore, what should I learn? The problem is not outside. The problem is centered on my inability to accept a situation. The solution, therefore, is what now? To grow in terms of my ability to accept situations. Why is the situation not acceptable? Because my value structure tells me that that situation is unacceptable. That's my value structure. I don't make fun of anybody, I don't ridicule people, and I don't like to be ridiculed. And I cannot imagine how somebody can ridicule me for no reason. But that is your value system. For somebody else, all his life he has thrived on ridiculing others. Probably he's an older person in life, and he can do anything he wants. So, in fact, he knows whenever he ridicules, people shut up. They clam up. Therefore, he wins. Because you clam up, he wins. Therefore, he knows how to win. Every time, pull your leg down and he'll win. What are you doing? You're supporting that. How do you stop it? You have to say, I am not able to accept it. Is what he's saying true or not? If it is not true, why am I affected? Why am I buying the idea that I am worthy of ridicule? There's no reason for it. This is because of my old childhood, where I've always felt I'm no good. I have been told you're no good. Hey, you're an idiot. Stupid fellow. Sit down, shut up. Look at your brother. He is always scoring, so much. What have you done? Nothing. You have no marks. You get a C grade. Look at your sister. This is what happens at home, You're told, here's your cousin. She's a state ranker. Where are you? The idea of the parents was to raise the bar so that you keep growing. But the effect on the child is, whatever you do, the parent says you're no good. The elders say you're no good. What's the impression you have yourself? I am no good. That's an idea a child has, and that idea doesn't leave you until you're able to address it. So this is not today's problem. The problem has started long ago, perhaps. And we project that problem on people in front of me now. So to address it is to first inquire. I feel mocked. First take responsibility for the situation. I feel mocked. Not they mock me. I feel mocked. My problem is I am unable to accept this situation. Now what should I do? Examine. Is it real? Am I really being mocked, or am I just feeling that way? What he is saying, is it a fact or it's not a fact? Examine. Then, if I'm still unable to handle, I'm helpless. If you are helpless, there is only one way. Surrender at an altar where you can receive help. There's no other way. If you're totally helpless, you have to go to Bhagavan and say, I am helpless. Help me. Help will come. Pray. Pray for help. I want to grow out of this. I don't want to change that person. Be very clear. I don't want to stop the situation. I don't want to change the situation. I only want to grow out of my feeling of being small and vulnerable. Pray for that. Do a japa. It will bless you. So this is about handling. I'm saying to be objective means to be realistic. Don't stay with your notions of yourself. Swamiji, I've always been timid and scared. I can't talk. That's how you have been. That doesn't mean you have to continue to be like that. I've always cried, Swamiji. That's how you've been. You need not cry. I never prayed, Swamiji. I can't pray. That's how you have been. You can change that. Anything you say, I can't change, understand you have a resistance to change. I can't change anybody in the world. I can't change people. I can't change facts. But one thing I can change or try to change is my own thinking, my own resistance. And some of these will require not just a one-step change, they will require a repeated attempt. A one-step change will work if there's a one-step problem. You saw a snake in a rope just now. You put a lamp, you see a snake. You see a rope, it's over. But you're saying, I'm an idiot for 50 years of your life, suddenly you'd say, I'm okay, is not possible. You will have to train yourself to see the fact that you're okay. That's why abhyasa. We need repetition. And prayer is also repeated. Every day we pray. Why? Every day you take a shower. Why? Why not take once, January 1st today, take a shower. Next January you will have another shower. What will happen? Your neighbors will not be near you. So the fact is, why do I take a shower every day? Because the body perspires and gathers dust every day. You need to do this mental shower every day also. Daily mental shower. What is mental shower? Whatever garbage you gathered today, you have to wash. But you know, Navaratri cleaning, what happens? Whole year's garbage you try to clean up in 9 days. You know, for that before festival, Diwali cleaning, Navaratri cleaning happens. Deep cleaning. We call it, we have words also now. Deep cleaning. Daily, shallow cleaning. It's not cleaning. But we call it cleaning. So we'll give an adjective, you know what? Shallow cleaning. Then what is it? Once a month we do deep cleaning. It requires 4 hours instead of 20 minutes. Means what? The dust you have gathered for last 4 months has to be cleaned in 4 hours, correct? Whole life, the junk that we have collected, that doesn't get cleaned up in one day. It requires a persistent effort backed by proper understanding of realities, including the reality of Ishvara. So this success, as I told you, is that a person is able to manage his likes and dislikes. If likes and dislikes manage me, that is not success in life. You may be successful in business, luck, grace. You may be successful in relationship. But am I successful? When prarabdha brings me to situations that are favorable, I'm okay. When situations become unfavorable, I have to be carried in a bucket. You know, I melt in my own emotion. That's not success. So to learn to manage my likes and dislikes is a huge thing. That makes all the difference. And you need this. Whether you're interested in artha or kama, you need it. I'm not even going to moksha. To use your mind freely, you need to free it from the hold of likes and dislikes. Is there a choice? There's no choice there. That's minimum. And for that we need what? Minimum knowledge is Ishvara. Swamiji is brilliant. He says minimum knowledge to live human life successfully is Ishvara knowledge. And not some believed Ishvara, Ishvara who is understood. So this raga dvesha have to be managed. Then what? For that what do you need? Prasada buddhi. Means the attitude we have when we collect prasada from an altar, whatever comes, whether it is vibhuti, whether it's water, whether it's laddu, whether it's puliogare, you know, somebody told me, Swamiji, I love to go to Melkote. Why? Because puliogare is very good. You know, so you drive to Melkote for that? Yes, I love the puliogare. Very interesting, you know. It is prasada or not? Now prasada itself has become an object of desire. Why do you like Tirupati? Because I love the laddu, Swamiji. Today's laddus are not good. Old time Tirupati laddu should have seen. It is so nice. Memory, you know. So we convert, unfortunately, we convert prasada buddhi into aprasada buddhi sometimes. If you want food, where should you go? Never go to Shiva temple. There you only get vibhuti. You should go to Perumal temple. Then only you will get proper, you know, pongal or Dhanurmasa especially is a good time, right? Every day you will get nice prasadam. Even in Rishikesh, if you want to go for Bhiksha, you should go to the Vishnu temple. Then you will get proper prasadam. So the point is, we should not convert prasada buddhi into kamya buddhi. prasada means prasannata, cheerfulness, an attitude. It's an attitude. Whatever you receive from the altar, you receive it with reverence. You receive it with grace. Say, you're receiving grace, In what form it comes, it doesn't really matter. That's the reality. So this buddhi we have to cultivate, prasada buddhi. And then this raga dvesha is one aspect. And further in this same thing, we have to understand dharma in terms of values. We talked about yesterday, samanya dharma, satyam, ahimsa, not stealing, not deceiving. The value is there, but that value is negotiable. Because when there are two things fighting, two things are there up for comparison, which one will you go for? Will you go for truth or will you go for more power? Will you go for, straightforwardness or will you go for more money? Because you go to a shop, a fruit shop, and I'm new. He sees I'm new. He knows I don't know anything because I'm asking him, what kind of mango is this? He knows this fellow is a real bakra. He doesn't know anything about it. So what will he do? He will inflate the prices. Tourist area. He'll inflate the prices and sell me. And you know what they did in Bangalore once? I was bakra for that. You bought all the mangoes. Very expensive, very good mangoes. I've selected each mango. And I said, you keep this, I'll buy some flowers and come back. I went back. He gave me a bag. I took it home. And then when my mother opened it, she said, what have you got? All rotten mangoes. Not one of them was good. And I'm not going to go to that shop again. It's over. But what I'm saying is that fellow found a convenient victim to make money. That is, his value for straightforwardness and non-deceit was overwhelmed by his value for money. This is called, we have to understand what's the value of a value. What is lost if you don't have that value? What is lost if you deceive somebody? What is lost if you're not straightforward? Unless that loss is clear, the value is not clear. This is why we are unable to be dishonest. Honest sometimes. So, we have to know, am I corruptible for a price? So I'm bringing some things into the country and a customs officer says, pay so much duty. If he says pay 500 rupees, I'll pay. 1,000 I'll pay. 10,000 I might pay. 1 lakh. 1 lakh? Come on. It's too much. That's what he wants to hear. It's too much. All right, then let's negotiate. Negotiation begins. So you pay something. So who is making whom corrupt? Unless I want to cheat, I can't be corrupted. And that fellow, to make me want to cheat, he'll jack up the price. This is the game. But unless I know the value of honesty, I will succumb. Therefore, the value of values has to be appreciated. We have to investigate what is at loss. What is the loss if I don't subscribe to a value? If I don't keep my honesty, I become a person with a split personality. Any sankalpa I make, I cannot keep because I don't have that basic honesty. The impact is too much. And then I say, Swamiji, I want to get up. Every day I put the alarm, but I don't get up. Why? Because when I put the alarm, I wanted to get up. When it rings, I don't want to get up. Two, split personality. This is because of not having integrity. So this is another very important aspect. So this is about addressing what we call chitta malam. The second aspect, which is very, very important, is chitta naishchalyam. Naishchalyam means what? This restlessness, unnecessary restlessness. The mind moves. And somebody asked earlier, the mind, I don't know anything other than the mind. I'm totally identified with the mind. How do you address that? And this is something that we all should really pay attention to. Japa. Japa is a phenomenal tool meant for this purpose. What is the idea? In general, our thinking is a chain thinking. What do I mean by chain thinking? You go from thought to thought to thought to thought. You don't have a gap between thoughts. The example Swamiji used to give is, suppose have you seen these areca fields, areca trees? They are a little flexible. They bend, right? So there's an areca farm. You want to harvest the areca nuts. So a fellow will climb up on one tree. Then he will push that tree forward, it bends, and he will jump to the next tree. He won't get down. Then he'll go to the next tree. By the time he's harvested all the nuts, then he gets back once. You can't do it on a coconut tree. On a coconut tree, what should you do? You try to jump to the next tree, you'll be in trouble, okay? You might land up between the two trees. So what do? You climb up one tree, you harvest your nuts, you climb down. You come to the ground and then climb the next tree. This is the example. Same way, every thought is like a climbing up, okay? After each thought, you should climb down, which means that thought is over. Now you are on ground and you have a new thought. Understand? What does it mean as a practice? In the day, chain thinking means you don't know why a mind moves where it moves. Why the mind moves. And I'm saying mind, I get the word mine in my head. Mine. Mine, gold mine. From gold mine, I'll think Goldman. From Goldman, I will go to some other company. I will go to Citibank. From Citibank, I will go to, which was the bank which went down? Merrill Lynch. Something I will think like that. Like this, you keep going. Merrill Lynch to Wall Street. From Wall Street, why is this wall so tall? How does the mind move? It has some rhyme. We don't know what the reason is, but it moves in its own way. What do I want to do? I want to have a say over my mind. So what should you do? You decide for some period of time, what will your next thought be? You have to fix it up. Fix up. For next few minutes, I am going to think only Om Namah Shivaya, let us say. Then what? Now, if the mind moves, you have something to compare. Because you decided it should be Om Namah Shivaya. If it moves elsewhere, what should you do? Bring it back to Om Namah Shivaya. In chain thinking, you have many and varied thoughts. In japa, you have many thoughts, but not varied. Same thought. Once you said same thought, you have a way to know if your mind moves. Otherwise, we don't even know the mind is moving. And once you have this clarity, when your mind moves, you bring it back. So what's happening now? Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Then Shiva Subramanya. From Subramanya, you went to, you went off to some Subramanya Kshetra. And from Kshetra, you decided how bad that experience was. So this is how your mind will move. Bring it back. Om Namah Shivaya. What will happen in time? It's like muscle training, okay? You train your mind to be where you want it to be. And now, once your mind is able to stay, now don't say, Swamiji, I can't meditate. I can't stay with that. Try. Because if you don't do it, you will never do it. In fact, if you give up meditation because you can't, your mind doesn't focus, that is exactly how it will be. You will never focus. Because the problem, meditation is the mind will move away and you have to bring it back. We are never saying mind won't move. Mind will move away and you have to bring it back. Bringing it back is meditation. Bringing it back is the effort. It goes away. Correct. That's the nature of the mind. That is exactly what we want to reverse, at least for some time. Now, once you get to the point where the same thought comes, now what happens? One thought, you have to land fully, There's a momentary pause. Then what? Next thought. Momentary pause. Next thought. So what do you have? Thought, no thought, thought, no thought, thought, no thought. Can I put it differently? Thought, silence, thought, silence, thought, silence. Now, is thought created or is silence created? What do you create? Do you create silence? Try. Do you create silence? or do you create thought? Is silence created? Silence is Shanti. Is Shanti created? Ashanti you create. So what should you do to have Shanti? Don't create. What is creation? Thinking, doing is all creation. Stay quiet. I can't. That's the problem. So you're training yourself. Now, Shanti is created. No, Shanti is not created. Shanti is there. Now, does Shanti go away when a thought comes? Or does the thought just kind of manifest without really removing the underlying Shanti? There's a wave on the ocean. Does the water disappear when the wave disappears? Or that same water rises up as a wave? You're sleeping, deep sleep. What is there? Shanti. The dream comes. What happened to the Shanti? Did it vanish? You can again go back to sleep. What is the cause? What is the effect? What manifested? What is unmanifest? The dream was not manifest, it became manifest. Manifest from what? Nothing comes from nothing. Where did it come from? Pot didn't come from thin air. Where did pot come from? From clay. Wave came from what? Water. Which means whatever comes has to come from what pre-existed, correct? Thought comes from where? From where? From you. Shanti is there or you are Shanta? What's the truth? Is there silence? Is it an attribute? Or are you silence? Tell me. If you are silence, where is the question of inner leisure not being there? But unless I discover this mind free from thoughts for some time, thoughts are not a problem. We don't want to eliminate thoughts. We are not aiming for, chitta vritti nirodha. What are we eliminating? We don't want it. Do you have to eliminate this pot to see, this cup to see clay? Do you? Do you have to eliminate this chain to know it's gold? Do you have to eliminate the ocean to see water? What do you have to do? How do you see water? Even as the ocean rises, even as the waves ebb and rise, fall, you see water or not? What does it take? What does it take? It does not take anything but cognition. It's a drishti. It's a way of looking. That's why I even point out Ishvara. The chain is also Ishvara. The chain is also gold. Whether you look at it as chain or gold is your drishti. For a person who has a value for the chain, there's only a chain. For the goldsmith, there is only gold. What do you want? You want Shanti or you want disturbance? You choose. Once you know Shanti is you, then it's only a matter of seeing that the thought really doesn't affect me. Because if it affected me, if thoughts affect me, suppose you think of a mountain, okay? Then you think of an elephant. Then you think of a fish. You will find all three in one image, It's like photoshopping. You put three on top of one another. That's not how it is. When you think of an ocean, there's just an ocean. Think of an elephant, there's only an elephant. Now think of one microbe, there's only one microbe. How many things do you see at one time in your mind? Can you see two? It's like a movie, one frame at a time. The frame may be a larger frame or a smaller frame, but there's only one frame. Therefore, each frame, when it goes, does it leave a stain on the mind? The frame completely goes and a new frame comes in. When the frame is gone and before the next frame came, what is? What is? Are you there or not? This is a way to discover the fact that the mind is not you. It gives you the window to see that the mind is not there and you are. The mind that disturbs you is not there and you are. So this Naishchalyam, and Swami used to never lose this opportunity to tell us that in our culture, this japa began with Upanayanam. When the boy is initiated into the Veda, Upanayanam, he is given japa. Then he has to do Gayatri all his life. If he takes sannyas or that Gayatri itself is withdrawn into Omkara, japa never stops. And that japa dhyanam gives you what? That capacity to see. And if you imagine now, if you can think the thought you like, will you ever get subject to a problem of, repeated thinking and getting a depression? You can decide this thought I don't want. You have a thought, what's a depression? You keep thinking the same thought which you don't want. Helplessly you're stuck with that. You go to a psychologist, you go to somebody, he'll sedate you. Because they don't know how to make your mind quiet. What's the only way is you put to sleep. When you sleep well, you'll be okay. Correct? But suppose you had the capacity to say, this thought is not serving me well, I'll replace Om Namah Shivaya. What would happen? What would happen? You would never suffer from a depression. And if you can use your mind as you like to, whatever you want to do, you can put your mind there. Not just for spiritual pursuit or religious pursuit. Any pursuit, you have a mind which is available to you. That is the Shakti. It gives you that capacity. And this, I'm saying, we don't take time to do this. We don't even know how to do japa. Even somebody who does japa does not do a japa knowing there's a gap. Then it's not really japa. You lost the biggest advantage of it. So when I first read Swamiji's book, I wondered, why this I saw this book before. Because unless you see it, you don't know. Gayatri you're initiated into, and Gayatri is supposed to have 5 stops, not 1. Panchavasana. So if you don't do the Avasana, you lost a huge benefit of japa. Japa is not just repetition. Japa is the repetition, being aware of the mantra, being aware of the gap. So this Chitta Naishchalyam we have to practice, otherwise it won't come. Even after practicing, it may take years, may not come. But at least we try. And without giving up, we have to try. 4 days you try, then give up for 1 week, then try 4 days, it will never happen. You have to keep trying till we are okay. Because it's possible. The potential is given. And if I'm helpless, pray. Pray for help. So, if we handle objectivity, we handle mechanicalness, we have value for values, we train our mind to have Naishchalyam, then the mind is in your hand. It's really an instrument that you can use. And if the mind is your instrument, inner leisure is in your hand. And I told you, go one step further. If the thoughts don't bother you, what will? In fact, what you see is not really the world. The world we see is purely our own view of the world. I'm not saying there's no world outside. Suppose you see a rope snake. Why do you see a rope snake? If there's a rope outside, why do you see a snake? You never see the rope. In fact, when you see a snake, you don't see the rope. So what do you really see? Do you see what's outside or what's inside? You only see what's inside. Whatever is outside. So if you can handle what's inside, you're king. The problem is not in the world. The problem is my inability to accept the world, means inability to accept myself facing the world. I have to play the role. I don't become a role. I have to use my mind. I don't become the mind. That's what we need to do. And for that, we take the help of Ishvara. We take the help of knowledge. We take the help of whatever it takes. If you have to go to a psychiatrist for some help, do it. You need counseling, do it. You need to get some self-esteem because you have poor self-esteem, go work and get self-esteem. Work. Prove yourself, you have to prove yourself. So that you don't feel I'm an underdog. If you come as an underdog and try to say I'll study Vedanta, it will never happen. Because you feel I'm so small, how are you going to feel big? You should be reasonably big to feel I'm the biggest. So it takes a lot of growth. So Swami would say, everything is valid. Everything in life is valid. A person you call an idiot or dumb fellow is valid because of him you have some self-esteem. If everybody is as brilliant as you, where is your self-esteem? So even a person who you label as useless has contributed to your self-esteem. So there is nothing which is redundant. And if we keep this goal, dharma in view, arthakama being pursued, then you grow enough to discover that, this is not the end, because despite following dharma, I am not free from sukha dukkha. Now you become a person who is interested in moksha, freedom. And now what? The only thing that changes subtly is my goal no longer arthakama. My goal is only that freedom, because I know that I am seeking that freedom in and through everything. Therefore, I also have recognized that this dependence on karma phala is getting me, and karma phala is never going to be permanent. It is changing. Therefore, my value for karma phala, I drop. If I drop the value for karma phala, what do I want? I want to be a person who is qualified, who is grown enough to understand the fact that I am the whole. What does that require? A mind which can accept the ups and downs that come in life, in situations. That is prasada buddhi. How do I get it? Not by sleeping, but by doing what is to be done. By doing what is to be done and not doing what is not to be done. By knowing the value of values. By recognizing that what I'm really seeking is a freedom which is not outside. The problem is I don't know myself, because I'm happy despite all the problems in life. Despite things going up and down, there's a moment when I smile. What makes me smile when all these problems are there? Therefore, the problems are not what prevents me from smiling. It is my view of myself as though I'm beset by problems that makes me do that. So I have to discover myself. If I know myself wrongly, no action is going to deliver the goods. It's only the knowledge of myself which will help me. How will you know yourself? How do you see your face? Do you see your face by yourself? Or do you use a mirror? You use a mirror. Why? Because you can't see your face by yourself. Same way, to know yourself, we need a mirror. And that mirror is called Shastra, a word mirror. And with that mirror, the mirror should be clean to show my face as it is. And cleaning the mirror is called Antahkarana Shuddhi. That is what we need. We need a calm, quiet mind, a mind which accepts, and a mind which won't move here and there. You have that mind, then you listen to a Shastra, Shravana Manana Nidhyasanam. That is not a topic for this talk, okay? That will help me recognize my truth. And in that truth, there is absolute freedom, an absolute inner leisure. Without that knowledge, there will be a huge degree of relative inner leisure. If I have dharma, if I have Ishvara, and if I have a mind which is more or less abiding. And if you are a person with that kind of a mind, then Swamiji would say, you can walk into my class, spend 1 hour, and you can walk out a free person. That much is the value of the mind which is prepared. Not mind, I being prepared. Because I don't know the mind other than myself. I should have that ability to accept myself in situations more or less. That ability is what I'm calling inner leisure. Okay? So that's what I wanted to say. We will now have 20 minutes, so we'll do one meditation like yesterday, quickly. Okay? Lights off, please. So pay attention. Japa is what we did, and that's what I want you to see again, so you recognize the value.